3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. It is A-Train, and this is True Crime Undercover. And I'm here with my good buddies, Super E and D-Mania.
What up, D-Mania?
What's up, everybody?
Hey, D-Mania. What are you doing?
How are you doing, A-Train?
I'm doing good.
Well, I'm just sitting here excited about our upcoming episode here.
Well, me too. I just cannot wait to get into it. What are we going to talk about?
Well, I think we all have agreed upon to share stories of rookie mistakes that we all may have made. Now, every police officer, whether they want to admit it or not, especially when they're newer, makes a dumb mistake that you look back on and think, wow, I could have been killed, or that was really stupid.
Right.
So maybe we have a few of those that we could share.
Share one with us.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, well, the first one I'll talk about was, as we spoke about earlier from a previous podcast, how when I got hired on my very first department, when I went from a reserve officer to when I got hired full time, they basically said, "Oh, hey, here's the keys. We need you to work tonight." I'm like, okay. So I'm on patrol that particular next day, and they had gave us a bulletin of a person who had a warrant that was hard to find that we were looking for. And I was doing my due diligence, patrolling down the road, and I see this individual on the side of the street, across the street from where he lives. So I pull up and I get out and I says, "Hey, I need to speak with you." And he walks over to me. I said, "I know who you are. I know your name. You have a warrant for your arrest." I said, "Let me see your identification." And he goes, "Officer, I'm sorry. I have my identification, but it's in the house." And he says to me, "If you'll allow me to go into my house and retrieve my identification, I'll come right back here and bring it to you and show it to you." And being the young, noble police officer that I was, I said, "Okay, I'll wait right here." And then all of a sudden I see him, he's walking towards the house. He starts to round the corner, and all of a sudden that walk turns into a very fast run. And I never saw the guy again. So,
you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of in the Blues Brothers when they were demanding the money. He goes, "Let me go write you a check. I have to get into the car as it's running."
That is funny.
okay.
So how did you tell any of the veteran officers the brilliant maneuver you did?
Well, I believe that I called in a foot pursuit after he rounded the corner of the house. Even though I couldn't see him, I had to make it seem like I at least lost him in a foot pursuit. Not that I made a stupid idiot mistake. So, no,
My question is,
find him that day, but I did find him a couple days later.
when he was walking, was he walking real slow and looking back at you, and then started to slowly speed his walk up and then hit a dead run?
Now that I recall the episode from the files in my brain, I believe he was walking at a brisk pace, kind of similar to what you'd see a mall walker. And so he was moving pretty good.
So you were thinking he's very enthusiastic about getting his ID for me. Yeah. What a good citizen.
What a good citizen, yes.
Was he?
However, that was not the case.
So when he was walking, was he walking? Uh-oh. Easy, killer.
Sorry about that. He was trying to give his side of the story.
He was like, "Hey, wait a minute, I want to say something." So when he was walking stiff-legged and moving his arms like the professional speed walkers?
He had a good gait and a long arm swing. So steady gait.
Well, was there another rookie mistake that you made? Because you said you did a couple.
Yes, I mean, two that I can think of.
Okay.
There wasn't very many. But the other one wasn't necessarily a mistake on my part. It was more a funny episode. So after the aforementioned one that we just spoke about, our lieutenant said, well, how about you ride with me for an hour or two so this doesn't happen again? And I'm like, okay. So we were driving around. It was the winter time, and it had just snowed, so there was snow on the ground. It was slick out. And we were driving in a 1995 Crown Victoria, we called it a slick top. It had no light bar on it. And so we're driving down this, I think it was like South 9th Street, and we see a car coming at us with the headlight out. And our lieutenant, who was very, very boisterous, very energetic, very known throughout the law enforcement community, says, D-Mania, that person's got a warrant. They don't have a driver's license. Now, what I'm going to need you to do is turn this car around, and I want you to pull that car over. So I said, okay. So the car goes by us, and I turned around, and I got behind it, and I activated my emergency lights. So the lieutenant that was with me, who always spoke in this very energetic voice, now, D-Mania, now, when you pull her over, what's going to happen is she's going to get out of the car, and she's going to run on foot. I said, okay, I'll be ready for it. So sure enough, she pulls over, she puts it in park, and she bails out of the car and starts running. However, it's like kind of like one of those cartoon characters who's running on ice. They're running on so, because it was very slick out. So I get out, and I immediately start chasing her. He said, let's get her, let's get her. So I go and I tackle her as she's gaining traction and trying to run away. And she's starting to fight with me. And this woman was very known to police. She's been arrested multitudes of times. And I finally get her cuffed up. And, back then, we wore all the pins on our uniforms and all that stuff. And I stood up, and my name badge was hanging down sideways. Your collar brass is ripped off. And so I noticed that nobody assisted me in that as I was taking her into custody. And I'm like, where is my lieutenant at? So I get her picked up off the ground. I start walking her back to the car, and I see my lieutenant on his hands and knees in a snowbank. Looks like he's trying to swim through the snowbank. And I was like, Lieutenant, what are you doing? He said, well, D-Mania, as I got out of this car, my service revolver was not snapped in my holster, and it fell out of my holster into the snowbank. And I'm currently looking for my revolver, and swimming through the snowbank looking for his handgun, which was not a revolver, by the way, but that's what he called it. But yeah, so he was swimming through the snowbank looking for his gun as I was fighting the suspect.
Now, was that lieutenant's name Lieutenant Dangle? Was he?
It was not.
Okay.
He's actually a very good officer, but he was lots of energy. So everything was always a big deal.
So did he? I'm assuming he found his gun.
He did finally. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was, and he securely strapped it into his holster at that point. So. Good. So that's that.
See, now, here's the deal. That is more of a lieutenant mistake, not necessarily a rookie mistake. Correct. Isn't it? Yes.
I would say so.
What about you, Super E?
Well, A-Train, me and you talked about this, and I was trying to think of one. Only thing I can think of, even though I did also have my gun fly out of my holster.
Who hasn't?
Yes, exactly. I was still in the FTO program, where I was riding around with my primary FTO. And I don't want to cast shade on him now, almost 40 years later. But my FTO, when he was my FTO, was a huge fucking prick. And it was like his only goal every day was to try to make me feel as stupid and useless as possible.
I hate that.
So after about 3 weeks of this shit, I was ready to murder this fucking dude. And I get my first accident where I see my first dead body. And what happened was accident with a fatality up on 38th Street. And A-Train, by 38th and Broadway and that area right there, they got them gigantic mediums in it.
Right.
And for you to turn north off 38th Street, they have, little cutaways in the median so you could turn.
Right.
But they got like little ramps on them. And what happened was the medium, they have openings so you can turn north off 38th Street.
Right.
And they've made them basically turn part of it, the medium, into ramps.
Yeah.
And what happened is some old guy driving a 74 Buick station wagon, it was like, 20 some feet long. He had a heart attack, hit the accelerator. It's died right on the spot. And his Buick station wagon goes on a driverless rampage east on 38th Street, hits that one of those mediums with the ramp,
Right.
flies through the air, and it lands in the windshield of a little Pinto station wagon,
Ooh.
killing the driver dead. So now you got 2 dead bodies, one of a heart attack, one of a Buick coming in the windshield.
Ugh.
So I'm sitting there going, oh my God, seeing the dead. I never seen a dead body before except on TV, and I was like, damn. And then my FTO was being his usual snarky self. And there's a bunch of other officers around, veteran officers who didn't have rookies at the time. And he's talking to him, and he's talking down to me like I'm a moron, And so he goes, hey, Rook, I think we need to put flares out. And I'm like, okay. So I reach in there, and I grab him out of the trunk, and I get ready to do it, to take off the cap and strike it.
Right.
And he goes, oh, wait, I better show you how to do that. I don't want you to make a mistake and cause a fire or somehow burn me in my new uniform that I just bought. And he was kind of looking around like, aren't I hilarious? And I was like, man, if I could just kick you right in the nuts right now, I'd love it. So anyways, I'm getting ready to strike. He goes, hold on a second. Let me move back. And he moves back about 5 feet. So I hit it. It strikes it. And it's getting evening time, starting to get a little dark. So he's looking around to see if anybody's laughing at his stupidity. I strike it, and I could see this spark fly about 8 feet up in the air. And it starts slowly descending towards him, and he's chuckling at my expense. And I could have said, hey, you might want to step back. But I thought, no, let's let nature take its course. And as he was snickering and stuff, I watched this little spark land on them cheap-ass, what were they made of, polyester?
Polyester.
Yeah.
Polyester police pants. And that thing, it was like it landed on a pile of gasoline. It hit his pants and flared up. And he goes, ow, shit. And there's a big fucking hole in his pants. And I was like, did I do it right, sir? And he's like, son of a bitch. And it took an hour to wipe the grin off my face.
Oh.
So it wasn't kind of a rookie mistake. It was a rookie mistake with a whole lot of sweet revenge.
Yeah, that was like rookie karma. It was that got him.
Exactly.
Didn't you say Tark Tice had that happen too, where he did that to somebody?
No, that was me, not Tark Tice.
Okay.
I did it in the academy on the day they were showing us how to direct traffic. I struck that thing. I struck it, and that spark flew directly at the instructor's pants, and the same damn thing. Why do they make police uniforms out of flammable, is that a word? Meltable material. I mean, it just, an immediate, inch big hole in his pants. I was like, oh God, I'm going to be fired. Yeah, well.
What'd you guys do? Now, wait a minute. Didn't you say that the class all of a sudden decided, I think we should take up a collection and pay for a new pair of pants?
Yeah, that is true. He was kind of the leader of the class, a great guy. he was like, I think the right thing to do would be to buy Sergeant Goodwin a new pair of pants. And I was like, oh, okay. So they took a collection up. We bought him a pair of trousers.
But, that's the only mistake I can think of on the top of my head, though. There's more. I mean, I know there's more, but...
I've got a million, I'm sure. But there's one that jumps into my head. I was in field training, so riding with my training officer, who was awesome, unlike yours, Ned. Remember Ned?
Yes.
Awesome. Anyway, we get this hot run, so of course I'm all juiced, turn lights and sirens on, and I am screaming. I think it actually was an officer calling for help. So I'm like, right. I gotta get there. So we're screaming down 52nd Street, and I had forgotten that 52nd has this S curve in it.
Yes.
Right there at Carvel, I think.
Yes.
Anyway, I am screaming, and he was so cool. He like would let me make mistakes, within reason. He was good. But anyway, I am screaming up on this S curve, and I forgot about it. And he's drinking a cup of coffee. And I hit this S curve, and I didn't do a 360. I did I guess it would be a 540. It was 1.5 rotations in the middle of this street. And I remember it was like planes, trains, and automobiles. I look over at him as we're pulling about 8 G's. I look over, and his coffee was like almost up to his lips, and the fluid is like flying out toward the passenger's window. And so finally, we come to rest, and I'm facing the correct direction, and I'm like, oh my God. And he just looks at me, and he goes, let's go. And I turned it back on, and we just kept screaming. He didn't say anything else about it. Not a damn thing.
Now, that is a good FTO right there.
Oh, my God. If I just looked over at him like John Candy. I'm just like, ah.
And I bet you looked over you and you were wearing the devil's suit, like when Steve Martin looked at John Candy.
But the thing is, he was still trying to sip that coffee. Even as it's flying out of the cup. Oh my God.
Another thing that Ned did?
What?
This would describe him perfectly. I don't know if he ever told you this. I guess they had a car chase, and they get the car stopped, but the guy won't come out. And he's revving the engine. But he won't unlock the door, he won't give up.
Yeah.
So I guess Ned just casually... This is when we had 357s. He casually walked to each tire of the guy's car, and we're blasting him out with this 357. He from one tire to the next tire to the next tire to the next tire. And that guy was like, oh shit, I'm turning off the car.
That is hilarious, man.
Yes.
Ned,
classic.
So D-Mania, to describe Ned, he was a stout, pretty well-built Serbian. He was it Serbia or Yugoslavia? I can't remember, but anyway.
I think he was Serbian. Yes.
Yeah. What a good guy. What a good guy.
And he used to work up before he came to our town. He worked up in Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
He told me he said he loved working on our department because working up there in Gary, now this was 1985 when he came out, started working in my district. He told me, he goes, it's unbelievable. I hear you guys complaining about the cars that are like maybe a year old. We were driving around in 12-year-old cars that didn't have floorboards. He goes, that's how. I was like, you got to be shitting. He goes, no. It was unbelievable. The pieces of shit we were still driving.
The grass is always greener somewhere else, but
exactly,
but not in Gary.
No, not there. Not there.
And to all our Gary listeners, we love you. I'm
We
just
love Gary.
kidding. I'm just
Yes.
kidding.
We love their semi-pro baseball team. I think they're called the Ironheads or something.
I'm going to have to take your word for that one because I don't
I
know.
can't remember. Or it's either the Ironheads or the Metal Porks or something like that. Something like that.
Those aren't even similar.
No.
Well, listen, this episode could probably go on for, I don't know, 3-4 hours talking about our mistakes, but let's cut it off right here. And
boom, end it.
maybe we'll revisit this at another time and tell all listeners some more of our idiotic, stupid mistakes. What do you think?
10-4. Sounds great.
D-Manny, what do you think, buddy?
Sounds good with me. I concur.
Okay. Well, try and remember some more boneheaded moves, and we're going to talk about them. See ya.
Boom, 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 boom.